Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy. Every week, bringing you a conversation with an internationally recognized communication expert. Why do I do this? Because all of us know that communication skills are vital for the success of our business. Great communication skills help us in our leadership, our management, our training, our customer service, our sales, our motivation, and yes, very importantly, our profits as well. Today's guest is one who deserves the entire 20 minutes just for introducing her and her talents. We've known each other through the internet across 15 or 20 years. Therese Antoinette Goulet, better known to millions of readers by her acronym that comes from her initials, Therese Antoinette Goulet, are better known as TAG Goulet. She has written articles that have been read in Canada and Japan and the United States. She's widely respected as a career communication expert. We're delighted to have her with us today. She's the only communication expert I know who has a page on Internet Movie Database. And there's so much more that we can say about her, but at this point, I want to welcome her and introduce you to Tag Goulet. Hello, Tag.
Hello, Bill. Thank you for having me.
Oh, believe me, if you're willing, this will not be the only time. We will want you back again. Now, to begin with, you have dedicated your vast communication talents to a career that helps people in their job search, in their promotion. Career building is what you're all about. And in fact, you're known for Fab Job. What is it that steered you in this direction?
Well, I think like many people, my life wasn't really planned out when I first left university. And I basically fell into a number of corporate type jobs that, while potentially promising for some people, didn't really leave me feeling really happy to be where I was. And my sister and I, when we planned Fab Job together, we'd both come from the corporate world, and we thought, what do we really want to do with our lives? I remember one day we were sitting in a food court as people were going by on their lunch breaks, and so many of them looked so unhappy. And we thought, what if people could do the careers that they dream of having? So we created a company back before the internet was really widely known, selling ebooks on how to have a dream career. And it's been amazing. It's been a wonderful ride. 17 years since we started.
Well, what fascinated me as I was looking on your LinkedIn profile is that you were selling ebooks before many people even knew what ebooks were. And at that time, only 52% of the population had access to the internet. So in many ways, you were a technology pioneer. I think you even referred to yourself as a technology geek, and your master's degree in communication went in that direction somewhat.
Yes. And I remember back in 1996, I worked for a startup. This was before Fab Job. We were a technology startup. We thought, well, this internet thing is going somewhere, so why don't we start creating web pages for people? And I remember I had to write a script for the person who was going to be doing cold calling to local businesses. And it started off, hello, have you heard of the internet? And it's just funny because nowadays, where the internet is everywhere, it's hard to sometimes imagine, especially for millennials, what a different world we have right now.
Yes, I can remember very well. I was living out of state, and my brother called me and said, "Have you got email?" And I said, "Email? What's that?" Mm-hmm. He said, electronic mail. I said, is that something you get at the post office? I mean, it's hard for people now who have been accustomed to the internet all along to realize the transition that came in 1996 when suddenly there was this way of communicating with people. I can still remember the first website I saw that someone had, and I said, my gosh, what kind of ego would have a website?
That's awesome.
So you started really online selling ebooks, and what were the ebooks about?
Well, they focused on careers that people would love to have, but very often don't know how to get started. So the very first three were careers that we knew from experience, from friendships, that people really wanted. And one is, lots of people dream of being an actor. We had a wonderful author for that book who had acted on Broadway. He'd been in movies with celebrities like Angelina Jolie. He'd been on television shows like Law and Order. And he's not a famous name actor, but he was a working actor and also willing to share his secrets with people. What do you do when you go to a casting call? How do you get an agent? So we looked for people who could write about, how do I succeed in this career? If I'm your best friend, what would you tell me about how to get started? We also published children's book author, and one that I wrote because I'd been a professional speaker for years, becoming a motivational speaker. Those were our first three, and now we have over 100.
Speaking of movies, as I mentioned in the introduction, when I was looking at your bio, I find out that you are on IMDB.com. It's known to many people, Internet Movie Database. Internet Movie Database, for me, is a wonderful source where if I want to preview a movie that I might want to see, or if I want to look up an actor or actress and find their bio, I go there. Lo and behold, 2 days ago, I look and tag Goulet as an IMDB page. How did that happen? What's that all about? What connection do you have with film production?
Well, I like to support, now that I'm a little older, I've been around for a while, I really appreciate people who are doing creative things in the world. And you'll see my title there is associate producer of a particular film. And very often the producer is one who helps the film get money. So, I've been very fortunate, and I think that they're giving me a nice title beyond what I've contributed so far. But I'm very grateful to be there. It's fun. I really enjoy being involved in watching people's creative dreams come true.
You also advise people on how to excel, for example, in interviews. And one of the statements that I read that you made was, dress like the people who are working in the position that you want to get. I remember decades ago when the book Dress for Success came out. It was a multi-big hit. And I'm thinking today, Dress for Success is not the way many people think today. I can still remember, Tag, the first time I was a passenger on a commercial flight when I did not wear a tie. I was so accustomed to wearing a coat and a tie, and I was a little bit uncomfortable the first time I didn't. And now I whimsically say when I get on a flight as a passenger, I'm hoping that the guy sitting next to me is wearing a full undershirt. So tell us why we should dress in the garb we wear should be for the position we want to have.
Well, I think it's human nature that people make judgments based on appearance in different situations. So just think of an experiment. If you were to dress in your grubbiest clothing that you would use to move furniture or paint your house, and you go to even a shopping center. The way you'll be treated by people, including the people who are working in customer service and retail and hoping to sell you something, will probably be different than if you are wearing a suit or something else professional. And it reminds me just quickly of the movie Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts, where she goes into these very expensive boutiques and the staff put their noses in the air saying, "This isn't for you, madam." People do judge based on how one appears. And the same will happen in the workplace. That if someone comes into work with their flip-flops and short shorts and other things that make people wonder, are they really serious about this position? Chances are they may have a bit more difficult time rising up in that organization than if they dressed in a way that people felt was professional.
I remember reading, since I mentioned the airlines, I remember reading several years ago that there was a survey done of how people dressed when they got onto a plane as a passenger, and what the reaction of the flight attendants. And here's what I read, and I imagine you've read this too, that those who were dressed more in at least business casual, which of course has many interpretations, but those who were very nicely dressed, there's no doubt that they seem to get better service.
That seems to be very true in many situations. There was a very interesting study done by Research Institute in Canada, where they looked at some of the results of people not dressing professionally. And it can cost people opportunities in the workplace, either getting the job in the first place, getting clients. People want to feel comfortable when they're buying something that this person is a professional, that they know what they're doing. So today I dressed how I feel is creative. I wore something a little bit, my hair is a little bit different, I have a pendant on. That's different than I would dress. For example, when I go and do a speaking engagement in front of a group of business people, it really does matter, I think, how we convey our appearance to people, because we are visual creatures, most of us, not all of us. Sometimes we can't help the impression that we have of other people. It's unconscious. We may not even be consciously aware that we're making certain judgments.
Well, there's another point here that I believe is important. I know this from my personal experience. And one time I was teaching a seminar, and a lady in there said, "I don't dress for the job I have. I dress for the job I want to have," very much along what we're talking. There's something else about dressing professionally when you're in the workplace, and that is the way you feel about yourself. If I go to work in a golf shirt, I don't feel like I'm in not only my work attire, I am not in my work mood. I'm not in that mindset. Years and years ago, I started my career as a faculty member at the University of Georgia. There were times when I looked around at other faculty members, and they were wearing sports shirts, many of them not even a jacket over the sports shirt. I wore a shirt and tie, and often a coat and tie. And one time I had a student ask me in class, and of course students are bold enough to ask anything. They said, "All of our other professors don't dress up, as they put it, like you do. Why do you do that?" And I said, "Because I'm at work, and because I respect my job, and I respect you, and because it reminds me that this is a professional situation." So for me, Tag, it's not only how other people feel about me, but it's how I feel about myself as well.
That makes perfect sense. I remember hearing about, it's so important, interpersonal communication, but intrapersonal communication is critical to our success. The stories that we tell ourselves, the effort that we put into things, I think that has a fundamental effect on how we are on any given day. I know when I'm not feeling confident, I tend not to get the best results. And looking good, I think, when you're in a professional environment, can absolutely make you feel that little bit more confident. I don't know if you remember, Bill, when you first started teaching, but I remember my very first class. I taught at the University of Calgary in communications. And I remember oh boy, I have to be good at this because it's communications.
Right.
So if it doesn't go well, what will the students think of me? And I remember going into the washroom during our break or that very first class and thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can continue doing this. It hadn't gone as well as I had expected, my very first one. But the experience then wasn't as good as after I had a few of those under my belt and I felt more confident. Boy, what a difference it made. And I try to bring that to other experiences I have, the old fake it till you make it now, that even if I am feeling a little bit nervous about the situation, sort of like Jiminy Cricket, whenever I feel afraid, I whistle a happy tune. I think that what we say to ourselves, the intrapersonal, can absolutely affect how
Yes, and from my perspective, really, if I were facing an audience or if I were directing an interview like this, and if 15 minutes before I did not have those butterflies in the stomach, I would really be worried. I want to be alert for the occasion. And what I often teach my speech coaching clients is it's okay to have butterflies in your stomach. Just get the butterflies to fly in formation.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Now we're talking about impressions, and I was reading something else you said, which I believe we certainly need to bring before those who are hearing this on podcast or viewing us on the video portion of the Biz Communication Show. And that is, you advise people who are in the job market be very, very cautious about what you post online in the social media. Why is that vital?
Well, I think most employers nowadays, when they're looking at hiring someone or they're looking at promoting someone or they're looking at having someone do some work for them as a business owner, we're curious. We want to have a look at who is this person? What have they done? I want to learn a little bit about their background. And when we come across postings where the person might sound a little bit angry, sometimes people do their rants on Facebook saying,
oh, yes.
I remember reading one, a young woman had written that she was so mad at her ex-boyfriend that she wanted to take a baseball bat to his car. And I thought, oh, this is good information for prospective employer to know that this person might have a short fuse. And it's really important. Now, we know how to do this, most of us, is to make our potentially embarrassing posts or photographs private. You can get yourself untagged because people will look.
There are many cases, I'm sure, where somebody posts their wild party pictures on there, and a person who's going to be interviewing them for a job sees those, and the interview probably gets canceled. There's no need to talk with that person who has judgment that is that far off base as far as being professional. It's not to say we can't have fun. It's not to say we can't be joyful people. It's not to say we can't have a life away from work, but good judgment comes in here as well.
Oh, Bill, that's so true, because I don't think anyone has the expectation that, well, no, I shouldn't say this. Some people may have the expectation, but most people don't have the expectation that the people we hire aren't going to have personal lives, that they won't go out to parties, that they will always be sitting, focusing on their work 24 hours a day. We don't expect that, but we do hope that the people that we hire are, as you said, have good judgment, that they are able to present an image to the world that doesn't potentially make the employer look bad as well as the individual.
Tag, I have known you as a syndicated columnist. Are you still writing for syndication? Or what's happening with your publishing life these days?
Well, I've been kept very busy with FabJob has branched out in a number of different areas. We have an online career college where the careers that people told us they really would love to break into, they wanted to go a little bit deeper. And so I'm now the dean, the director of the college, IAP Career College, and doesn't leave a whole lot of time for writing. I still every now and then manage to get something published, but I am no longer focusing as much energy as I used to on writing. I have to admit, I am a really slow writer, and something that I think another person might be able to write in a half hour, it takes me a little bit longer than that. So but I love the fact that with the internet, I can be a writer, anyone can be a writer, and it's a way to put us out there in the world to show others what we are feeling, what we're thinking, and it can also be potentially a very good way to be seen by prospective employers and clients as someone who really does know their stuff. So one of the suggestions for people who are looking for a new career, want to move up, want to get clients, is show yourself as an expert by writing about it. Have a blog where you're not posting Friday night party pictures, but where you're posting information that shows that you have expertise in a particular area. So I guess in my roundabout way, I still do that a bit, but it really is a good job search tactic as well.
I know as we come to the end of our interview, and I mentioned at the outset it would fly by, because when you're having fun, time does fly. And it's such a great pleasure to talk to someone who's so accomplished in communication and has helped so many people and continues to in their careers, finding their dream career. I know, Tag, that there are viewers and listeners who want to know how to get in touch with you, how to learn more about FabJob Career College, how they can tap into your vast resources. So please give us your contact information.
Absolutely. Well, first I'll give the domain. It's fabjob.com. fabjob.com or iapcollege.com. And we have an 800 number that back in when we started, there were a lot more 800 numbers available. It's 888-FABJOB1 or 322-5621. And I'm always happy to hear from people. Contact us through our website or by telephone and be happy to connect.
Thank you. And Tag, this has been a fascinating 20 minutes. I know that those who have listened will have tremendous benefits that they will apply to their business communication. Thank you so much for being with us. And to those of you who were watching us on video, we welcomed that. And also to those who hear us on podcast, we're happy that you're with us as well. And be with us again next week when once more I will bring a widely recognized authority on business communication for the Biz Communication Show. I also, along with Tag, will be happy to share my contact information. Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy. And so logically, my website is Biz, that's B-I-Z, bizcommunicationguy.com. And as Tag said herself, I welcome your going to my site, sign up for my newsletter. Also look at the services that I provide for corporations and for individuals. Again, Tag de Goulet, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bill. I am thrilled I got a chance to speak with you in person because I've known of you for years, as you know, and you are someone I respect very deeply, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you, and we'll be talking with you again next week.